My family abandoned me at 18. I built an empire without them. Have you ever stood alone on a doorstep, clutching a single bag, realizing no one was coming, not to stop you, not to hug you, not even to say goodbye? That was me at 18. My family told me to leave and never looked back. No love. No support. Just silence. But what they didn't realize was they didn't end me. They launched me. Every tear, every night I spent wondering why, I turned it into fuel. Into fire. Into a future they could never take from me. But before the empire, let me show you where it all started the night I was left behind. Part 1. The breaking point. Have you ever lived your whole childhood feeling like you were just extra? Like you were always present, but never really there? That was me, Isabel. I was the quiet daughter. The one who didn't cause trouble, didn't talk back, didn't ask for much. I thought that if I just behaved well enough, worked hard enough, made myself useful, maybe, just maybe, they'd notice me. Maybe they'd love me the way I needed to be loved. But love in our house came with conditions. And I could never quite meet them. Growing up, I learned to stay out of the way. I helped clean. I cooked dinner by age 10. I tutored my little brother after school while my parents watched TV in the next room, never once saying thank you. My report cards were perfect. My clothes were secondhand. My voice, mostly kept to myself. By the time I was 17, I had already accepted that I wasn't the favorite, not even close. But I held on to the hope that when I turned 18, something might shift. Maybe then, I'd finally be seen as an adult, as someone worthy of respect. I was wrong. On the morning of my 18th birthday, I came downstairs expecting at least a small celebration. A card. A hug. Even just a smile. But the kitchen was silent. No decorations. No candles. Just my father sipping coffee and scrolling on his phone. Happy birthday, my mother muttered without looking up from her crossword. That evening, as I was helping clear the dinner table, she looked at me with this blank expression and said, "You're 18 now. I think it's time you figured out your own life. We've done what we can." No anger. No warmth. Just cold dismissal, like I was an obligation that had finally expired. I blinked, stunned. "Wait, are you saying I need to leave?" She didn't even hesitate. "You're an adult now. We've raised you. You should stand on your own." I stared at them both, my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear myself breathe. My father added quietly, "We'll give you a few days. But start packing." That was it. No conversation. No plan. Just a clear, heartless message. You're on your own now. And don't expect us to help. 3 days later, I left with one duffel bag, a half-dead phone, and a $20 bill my dad slipped into my hand without making eye contact. That night, I slept in my car. And the night after that, and the night after that. The seats didn't recline fully, so I curled up like a question mark in the back, using my hoodie as a pillow. I parked in the back corner of a gas station lot, and prayed no one would knock on my window. Every morning, I'd wash my face in the gas station bathroom, fix my hair as best I could, and head to my part-time job at a diner smiling, serving pancakes, and refilling coffee cups for strangers who had no idea that I didn't have a bed to go home to. Every night, I'd cry quietly in the driver's seat, biting my lip to keep the sobs from echoing. I wasn't just heartbroken, I felt erased. Like I'd never mattered at all. But slowly, something inside me started to change. One night, as I sat watching the sunrise creep over the parking lot, I realized no one was coming to rescue me. No one was going to fix this. And as terrifying as that was, it also meant something else. I was free. Free to fall apart. Free to start over. Free to build something from the ground up with no one's permission but my own. That realization became my fuel. I stopped waiting for someone to choose me. I decided to choose myself. I started saving every tip from the diner. I spent nights reading job boards at the public library. I applied for community college classes with the money I earned bussing tables. I didn't have connections. I didn't have guidance. But I had time. I had drive. And I had nothing to lose. So tell me something, have you ever felt like your existence was too easy for someone to erase? Like they could just push you out and move on like you never mattered? And if you have, how did you find the strength to keep going? I want to hear your story. Truly, Drop it in the comments. Someone out there might need to hear your voice too. Because here's the truth I discovered in that parking lot. Even when you're shattered, even when you feel invisible, your story isn't over. And mine was just getting started. I didn't have money. I didn't have a plan. But I had something more powerful. I had time and no one to answer to. And that freedom? That quiet space with nothing left to lose? It would become the foundation of the empire I never imagined I'd build. Stick with me. You won't believe what happened next. Part 2. The hustle begins. You know that moment when survival turns into hunger? Not the kind that asks for food, but the kind that craves purpose, movement, meaning. That was me. After those long nights sleeping in my car, after wiping tears on diner napkins and brushing my hair in gas station mirrors, I started dreaming again. Quietly, fiercely, secretly. I didn't want to just get by. I wanted to build. My first step was simple, but terrifying. I picked up a used laptop from a pawn shop. It was scratched, slow, and missing the N key. But to me, it was a ticket to somewhere else. Somewhere that wasn't the diner. Somewhere that didn't smell like burnt toast and spilled syrup. During the day, I worked 2 jobs. Mornings at the diner. Evenings as a stock clerk at a grocery store. At night, while the city slept, I opened that laptop and typed with 9 fingers, filling in the missing letters in my head. I taught myself graphic design by watching free YouTube tutorials. I learned branding from articles, marketing from blog posts, and design theory from borrowed library books. I didn't have a teacher. I didn't have a mentor. But I had Google, a fire in my chest, and a stubborn belief that maybe, just maybe, I could figure this out. It started small. A flyer for a friend's taco truck. A logo for a local nail salon. A social media post for a barber who paid me in tips and coffee. Every job mattered. Every pixel I moved on the screen felt like a brick laid in the foundation of a life I was building from nothing. I created a portfolio. I opened a free website. I printed my own business cards on cheap cardstock and handed them out to shop owners while pretending I wasn't terrified. I remember the first time someone actually paid me. $50. Real cash. I stared at the bills in my hand like they were gold. Because in that moment, I wasn't a runaway. I wasn't a disappointment. I was a creator. A professional. I called my business Brightside Branding. Because even when everything felt dark, I believed there had to be a bright side somewhere, and if I couldn't find it, I'd make it. With enough small gigs, I saved up just enough to rent my first apartment. It was tiny. The windows stuck. The pipes groaned when I ran hot water. But it was mine. No one told me to clean. No one ignored me at dinner. No one told me I didn't belong. It smelled like chipped paint and lemon floor cleaner, but to me it smelled like freedom. I bought a second-hand rug. A tiny desk, a folding chair, and every night, I sat in that little corner by the window, designing, emailing, pitching. I didn't have connections. I didn't have a network. But I had a work ethic that didn't quit and a dream that grew louder with every client who said yes. No one clapped. No one called to say, "I'm proud of you." But that was okay. Because somewhere between cold dinners and late-night deadlines, I stopped needing applause. I started clapping for myself. And that shift, that quiet pride, that's when everything began to change. Let me ask you something, and be honest with me. Have you ever started something with nothing but a dream and a laptop? Maybe your version looked different. Maybe it was a camera, a notebook, a sketchpad, or just a strong cup of coffee and a big idea. How did your journey begin? Drop it in the comments. I know I'm not the only one who started from rock bottom. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear tonight. Because the truth is, there's a strange power in starting with nothing. It forces you to become resourceful, relentless, resilient. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting to be chosen. You start choosing yourself. And that's exactly what I did. Client by client, design by design, I started turning side gigs into something that looked a lot like a business. My work improved. My rates went up. I learned how to write contracts, build proposals, negotiate without fear. Every time I wanted to give up, I reminded myself, you are not going back. You are not disappearing. You are becoming. And I didn't just want to survive anymore. I wanted to thrive. That hunger, that unshakable desire to not just exist, but to rise, that was about to open doors I never thought I'd reach. Stick with me, because in the next chapter, Brightside branding becomes something much bigger, and someone from my past? They come knocking. Part 3. Building the Empire. Have you ever had a moment so surreal it makes you stop and whisper to yourself, "This is actually happening?" Mine came on a Tuesday morning. I was sipping coffee out of a chipped mug, wearing a hoodie that still had paint stains from my first apartment, when I opened my inbox and saw the subject line, "We love your work and want to collaborate." It was from a major retail brand. The kind I used to window shop when I couldn't afford socks without checking the price tag. They'd found my website. They'd seen my portfolio. And most shockingly of all, they trusted me. I remember closing my laptop and just sitting there, heart racing, staring out the window like the sky might give me some kind of answer. Could this be the beginning of everything I'd worked for? It was. That first contract wasn't just a paycheck. It was a validation that the long nights, the tiny apartment, the YouTube tutorials, the missed calls and quiet holidays had led somewhere real. I poured everything into that project. My design work, my marketing strategy, my storytelling. I gave them what I wish someone had given me, belief backed with bold action. The results? They were happy. No, they were thrilled. They recommended me to 2 other brands. And that was the start of something I never imagined in those nights sleeping in my car. I wasn't just freelancing anymore. I was building something. I registered my business officially. I formed a team, just 2 people at first. Both were freelancers like me, hungry for more but unsure where to start. I mentored them the way I wish someone had mentored me. We didn't have a fancy office or a receptionist, but we had vision, heart, and a reputation that grew with every job. Month by month I scaled. We took on larger campaigns, branded storefronts, ran digital ads that went viral. My name, Isabel Tran, began circulating in boardrooms and pitch decks. Clients began saying things like, "We've heard good things. We've been meaning to reach out." I started receiving invitations to panels and conferences. And eventually I opened the doors to my very own firm. A real office. My name on the frosted glass. I stood in that space the first day, barefoot on the cold tile, and thought, "This is mine." No one gave it to me. No one opened the door. I kicked it open myself. But here's the part no one saw. Even with the success, even with the clients and the team, and the office, I never forgot where I came from. Not for a second. I still kept the chipped mug on my desk. I still walked to work sometimes just to remember what it felt like to not know where I was going. And I still hadn't told anyone from my past, not a word. I wasn't hiding. I just wasn't looking back. Not yet. But can I ask you something? What would you do if the very people who once doubted you, who made you feel small, suddenly had to see your name in lights? Would you forgive? Would you reach out? Or would you protect the peace you built with your own 2 hands? Tell me in the comments. I really want to know. Because I thought I had my answer. I thought I'd moved on. That I'd left the past behind. But the past has a funny way of showing up when you least expect it. Sometimes it walks through your front door without knocking. Sometimes it calls you by your old name. And in my case, it came back dressed in regret and pride, asking for a meeting. So stick around. Because in the next chapter, everything I built, every quiet win, every private victory was about to collide with the people who once left me with nothing. And trust me, you won't want to miss what happened next. Part 4. When they came back. Have you ever watched someone step into your life with shoes worn from distance, looking for something they once took for granted, only to realize they're standing in the room you built for yourself when they chose not to stay? That's exactly how it felt when my family reached out after years of silence. It had been 5 years since I left. 5 years of mornings waking up in my own apartment. Nights designing late by the glow of my laptop. And months of building Brightside branding into something real. Something I was proud of, even if no one from my past ever noticed. So when I got the email, a request for funding, branding, marketing from Tran Family Market, I nearly dropped my chai latte. My heart pounded in a new way. Not fear, but clarity. My stomach twisted, not with longing or anger, but with the weight of the moment. They didn't know I was the one they were applying to. I was now the CEO of a firm that advised businesses on growth. My name was on the proposals. My voice guided strategy. And here they were, hoping I would lift them up. I scheduled the meeting. No hesitation. Because I had no reason to hide. Opening day, I walked into a glass-walled conference room. My assistant had briefed me. Their business was struggling. They needed a fresh direction and a new image. I greeted them with a smile that felt like sunrise after a long night. Calm, steady, finished. My mother, standing behind her husband, blinked at me, her face losing color. My father sank into the chair next to her. My older sister picked at her nails. They looked like they were seeing a stranger in the mirror. Their meeting began quietly. They talked about numbers and sales and new products. They looked for my help. I took notes. I listened. Then came the question. Could I support them? I looked at each of them, no tears. No guilt. Just a firm voice and steady eyes. I am willing to help, I said. Brightside branding will work on your rebranding. But the contract will be professional. I cannot treat you differently than any other client. I will deliver what you need, but not what you want out of nostalgia. That was the moment I think they realized who I had really become. Silence filled the room. Not heavy. Reflective. My mother spoke first. Oh, I'm sorry, Isabel whispered. We had no idea. We didn't. My father cleared his throat. When did you? I answered. When I walked in 5 minutes ago. If this were revenge, I could have said no. I could have demanded apology. I could have checked debt off balance sheets. But I'm not that person anymore. I smiled. That fire that carried me here doesn't burn from spite. It burns from purpose. They nodded. They shook hands. We agreed on deliverables and timelines. No hugs. But no hostility either. Just a quiet dignity. Before we left, I said one final thing. When I started, I had nothing. I built every piece of this with late nights, cold mornings, and believing in myself even when no one did. I hope this partnership helps you remember who you once were and find a way forward. But remember, I'm not the same. I matter now. I stepped out of the room with my laptop bag slung over my shoulder. I didn't look back for forgiveness. I didn't look for approval. I'd chosen grace over anger. Purpose over payback. Now let me ask you this: if your past came knocking long after you'd closed the door, would you open it? Would you welcome them with arms open or keep it locked and know your peace? I read every comment. Seriously. I want to know what you would do. Because in my case, the choice wasn't about winning or losing. It was about reclaiming my voice. It was about closing the circle in a way that honored my journey, not erased it. And in that moment, I knew I had won. The secret wasn't in making them see me. It was in finally seeing myself. It's easy to measure success in deals signed or names on doors. But the real victory came from standing tall in the place they never expected me to be. No noise. No flash. Just quiet, calm, unshakable proof. And that a woman walking into her own future, unafraid, was exactly how I wanted to be remembered. Stick around, because in the conclusion, I'll share the one thing that final moment taught me about forgiveness, self-worth, and the power of not just surviving, but thriving.